Welcome to the class on FDOT Civil 3D Automated Quantities. This class is set up to be taught in modules, which represent the chapters in the training guide. The first module will be chapters 1 and 2 combined, and the following modules will be each individual chapter 3 through 9. This class is set up to teach, but not limited to, general topics on Civil 3D, exploring the FDOT Civil 3D desktop folder, setting up data shortcuts, working folder and creating data references, create file application for creating project-based files, FDOT Entity Manager, or EMX for short, using model and paperspace for your reports, using the FDOT Takeoff Manager to generate different types of reports, editing reports in Excel, and linking said reports into the DWG design file, and finally creating a summary of pay items. As we go through each module or chapter, there will be exercise files that you can complete, and the data set is located with the modules so you can download them and complete the tasks as you go through each module. Now first we're going to start with chapter 1 and 2, and the objective of chapter 1 is to go over the installation desktop folder, what applications are present there, file creation, base project file setup, some AutoCAD Civil 3D features and concepts such as layers, feature lines, text styles, annotation scale, model, and paperspace. First, let's explore the desktop folder. Located on your desktop is the FDOT 2019 installation folder. This class will be teaching using Civil 3D 2019, which is the latest state kit and the latest version of Civil 3D. The functionality in 2018 and 2017 versions are virtually the same. So double click on the desktop folder. You notice there are icons that represent different applications. The first one is the icon that launches the state kit itself. There is also a desktop shortcut that will launch the state kit. There is a CAD GoToMeeting icon which you can click on and input a meeting ID that the CAD support personnel gives you, so you can go and sign on to a meeting. There's our CAD website that you can go to. Create Project is the first application that would be used to create a project that will be designed in Civil 3D. This is the only location of the Create Project file, which is in this folder. It does not launch from within the state kit. The project manager would use this application to set up and enter in the pertinent data that goes with that project. Also is a link to our Civil 3D quick clips, which if you hit F1 while hovering over each one of our tools on the FDOT ribbon, it will take you to a quick clip page that you can watch a quick video of how that tool works. There is the FDOT XML signing tool. There's File Checker, which will confirm your project is put together correctly. LandXML Converter, LandXML Grouper, LandXML Visualizer, which can open up LandXML files such as surfaces, that can be viewed to be verified before sending those out. Request CAD support, which opens up a Sharewell portal that you can enter in a service ticket that CAD support monitors that problems and issues answered quickly. And if you don't have a Sharewell account, you can set one up. It's easy to do. Sheet Set Organizer. This is the only location where this can be launched. This application is what you would use to print out your final project. It loads all the sheet sets that are created within the project, and you can control and set up how it's printed. Summary of Drainage Structures is a tool used, and that will be covered in this class, which generates a summary of drainage structures in your drainage files that will automatically fill in the spreadsheet, so you can then link it to a file. There is a data set that goes along with this manual and class that you can download along with the printed version of the training manual. It is recommended that you put the dataset into the Civil 3D 2019 projects folder located on your C drive. And the name of the dataset is called Dataset Start, which provides all of the necessary files for you to complete the manual from start to finish. With the dataset copied over and ready to proceed, on your desktop, double-click the Civil 3D 2019 icon to open the FDOT Civil 3D State Kit. Once you have it open, a few things to go over. There is a FDOT ribbon that contains all of the applications and tools that you can use to do your FDOT projects. You have a tool space located on the left side. You have open drawing tabs along the top. You can have multiple drawings open at one time. You have tool palettes located on the right side. And all of this is controlled in this section here, the palettes section. So for exercise 1.1, we're going to be setting a data shortcut working folder, which will tell the program where all of our data shortcuts will reside, that we will save and create data shortcuts, and we'll also be able to reference them to put in additional design files. It is located on Tool Space. On your Prospector tab, there is a data shortcut section. Right-click on Data Shortcuts, Set Working Folder, Civil 3D 2019 Projects, expand that, go to Dataset Start, and hit OK. You see it populates here. Since there is one project only in that folder, it loads it by default. You can hover over the tool to see the location of it. If there were more than one project in it, you would right-click and set Data Shortcuts Project Folder, and you would have a list of project numbers here that you would choose from. With the default set, we'll just click OK. Concerning FDOT standards, FDOT provides several resources to instruct and aid designers in computing pay item quantities. The Estimates Office publishes the Basis of Estimates Manual, the governing document that specifies how to compute each pay item. The Estimates Office also provides a master pay item list containing every pay item available for use in Florida. The FDOT Civil 3D State Kit provides tools to simplify the process of generating quantities. The Entity Manager application uses a database, a payitemdb.xml file, and several report styles delivered with the FDOT State Kit. The Entity Manager database is preset to comply with both drafting standards specified by the CAD manual and the pay item computation methods supplied by the Basis of Estimates manual. FDOT has two standard file names that are to be in the discipline directory for storing quantities. The first is the DSGN file that is created for each discipline. The last two letters represent the discipline. For example, DSGN SP, signing and pavement marking, LT, lighting, SG, signal design. This particular file holds all linear and each features that can be quantified. The second file is called QTD-SRD, that is used for all areas, tonnage, and cubic yard features. The next step that we must complete is the creation of the project base files. With the Civil 3D State Kit open, click on the FDOT ribbon located on the far right along the top. You'll notice an application on the far left called Create File. Create File will create all the design files. The file contains all design file naming conventions along with the appropriate symbology, layers, colors, line types, etc. The application can only be launched from inside Civil 3D. So next, let's do exercise 1.2, which is create the base files for a project. Go ahead and click on the Create File application. It's important to note that we did set the data shortcuts first, and this is what you have to do each initial stage of a project. Otherwise, the Create File will let you know that this project information along the top here does not match the data shortcut working folder. So the first thing you would do is set your working folder before you started creating your design files. Keep in mind you only have to do this one time. It will remember the project when you next open it. However, if you are working on multiple projects at one time, you will need to continually change that project number as your current working project. Another advantage to having the data shortcut folder already set is the coordinate system is automatically populated here. In this case, it's FL North, which as these files are created, the coordinate system will already be assigned. So going from top to bottom here, we want the discipline to be roadway, the file group to be the roadway design files, the file type to be quantity computation shapes calculations. You see that it's going to create a QTD SRD01 file. If a 01 file already existed, 02 would be populated. So each time you create a file, it adds another digit to that, so they will not be overwritten. The output folder, the discipline folder, would be the roadway. The template that it is going to create from is the FDOT master, and the template path where it is getting that template is in data templates in your install folder. So from here you can hit create open file, and in the background it is opening that FDOT master template and then renaming it as a DWG file, and you can see that right up here, which is the QTD SRD folder, which is the QTD SRD01.dwg. Now moving to exercise 1.3, we're going to create two more design files that we'll be using in this class. The summary of quantity sheets. So we want to keep the same discipline and the same file group. Scroll down until you get to summary of quantity sheets, which is going to create a SUMQR D01.dwg. Everything looks good. Hit create open. Now you can create as many files as you need in one instance of using the Create File application. And the last file that we're going to do here is the summary of pay item sheets, which is above it. This will create the CESS RD01.DWG. Go ahead and hit Create Open and select Close to exit out of the Create File dialog. Now along the top you can see we have 3 new DWG files created. So let's go back to the QTD file, and on the Home ribbon, let's go to Layer Properties. You can right click along the name here and cut off Allow Docking, otherwise it will dock to areas of the screen you may not want it to. So in our FDOT design files we have layer standards filters that correspond to each drawing name. So for instance, in the QTD file, which is current, this is currently all of the layers that are located in that role file. So there's 414 layers displayed of 1620 total layers. So if you wanted to navigate between design files with the layers, this is how you would do that. If you wanted the signal, the signing and pavement marking. There are also filters here if you wanted to get to all of the text layers, all of the X reference layers, and the miscellaneous and scratch. It's an easier way to navigate to the correct layer. To make a layer current, just double click on that particular layer. Exercise 1.4 in the manual goes over the layers and filters if you want to familiarize yourself with what's available. Complete that exercise. Next, let's go over some text styles that are preloaded in the state kit. If you type in ST, typing ST brings up the text style dialog box. The default font name is FDOT, and it is set up to be annotative, which means as the scale along the bottom here, which is currently 1 inch equals 40, as the scale changes, the size of the text automatically changes for easier reading. If you expand the annotation scales along the bottom here, you can see currently it's set to 1 inch equals 40, but you can easily change your scale here. With that information, let's do exercise 1.5, which is displaying an annotation scale and text styles to get you familiar with the text editor, mText editor. Switch over to or open the CESS RD01 file. Set the current layer to text label. You can either browse under layer properties to find it and click on it to make it current, or inside the command line type in text label. This is the easier method if you know the exact name. Press enter. Notice the current layer is now text label. Zoom in into the drawing space, and on the command line type in M text to bring up the on the command line, specify the first corner. Notice an ABC symbol is associated to your cursor. So I'm going to left click once, drag the mouse, and left click again to select the area. Along the top you see the text editor and the tools that are available. So for this, I'm just going to type in "this is a test," and I'm going to left click outside of the text box. With the text placed in and the model space active, you can see the scale here. If we change it from 40 to 100, you can see the text size changes. And if we go the other way, change it to 10, makes it bigger. So as you change your active scale, the annotation scale of the text also adjusts to make it easier to read. That concludes the Chapter 1 part of this first module. The Chapter 2, which is the second half of this module, will go into the design tools and the brief explanation of what each one does. You will be using these tools throughout if you're creating design files that contain quantities, and they do cover a few different disciplines due to the fact quantities come from signal, lighting, signing, pavement, roadway. The first design tool we'll go over is the Entity Manager, or EMX for short. It can be located on the FDOT ribbon under the Pay Item Tools panel. Click on Entity Manager, and if this is the first time that you have launched it in your project, you will see a sign, do you want to see the details? Select No, and it will go through its loading process. When the loading process is complete, a dialog box will come up asking for you to save it into a project directory. In this instance, you would save it into your symbology folder of your project and give it the project number as its name. And we'll go over this in future modules here on how to do that. But for time's sake, I'm just going to hit save. Going from top to bottom on EMX, it has the database location of that file, which will be your project file. Along the top, it has an ID button where you can select and pick on the screen an entity that you have already placed, and it will give you the information on it. You can select from the entities themselves here and append to an existing entity on the screen. You can remove or replace the pay item data, which is called X data. You can match properties. You can control the labels, which we will get into in future modules. You have pay item categories that you can navigate through to pick your items. If you open up each one, it goes to its entity. You have entity X data, which is when you use that ID button and you select that entity, this will populate with that data. You have selected, which you can build a list, multiple list of pay items here, and then append to one entity, which is a group of different pay item numbers that goes on one object. And alignments. All the alignments that are in the design file would be here, and if you had multiple alignments, you would need to be careful to add or select the correct alignment you're going to be placing objects on. It's very important when you run reports for the stations and offsets to be on the correct alignment. You can select that alignment either by the pull down here or the graphically select button. On the bottom here we have text filters and pay item to find filter. You can enter in either one and it will take you to the category you're looking for. For example, if you want some striping, we'll type in PM. You see it automatically fills in the rest, assuming that's what you want. Select that, hit enter, and it pulls up everything with the PM stripe. In this case, it's looking at the PM stripe layer. Along the bottom are drawing tools that are associated with EMX. And the difference between these tools and regular AutoCAD tools, which they do the same thing, is if you use these tools with a selection made, it's going to apply this X data to that object. So whether you draw a line, polyline, polygon, rectangle, arc, circle, ellipse, ellipse arc, offset, multi-line, M-line, or insert block, it's going to have that X data information on it. And if you want to look inside of this particular pay item, select it and right click and edit pay item data. It gives you an attributes and ad hocs box. The attribute gives you additional information such as the pay item number, the description, the compute method of how it's calculated, the layer it's going on. If this was a block, it would have the block name, block scale, and the block library file that it's pulling from, and the quantity factor. By default, quantity factor is always 1, but you may need to change this depending on your use, and this is how you would do so. On the ad hocs tab, you have additional information that you can add. Some ad hoc tabs have additional information such as design notes and other information you can put in that when you run the report will show up in the Excel sheet, which will get linked to your design file. Next, we have FDOT Signs. FDOT Signs is an application that will allow the designer to build sign assemblies and place them in the design file. The pay item data is on the post, and it is determined by the total square footage of all the panels on that post. So if you have multiple panels, which makes the square footage higher, a different pay item number will be used the higher it goes. This pay item information is not from the database that EMX uses. It is from an XML file. FDOT Multiline is another tool to be used to draw entities with pay item information on it. For example, you can open up a already defined pattern inside the state kit. In the install folder and the data folder, there is a multiline patterns folder which contains additional patterns. Just open the desired one, and you have your layers, your offset distance, your pay item ID if provided. Typically, you would have in your curb and gutter typicals, you will have some pay item data in there to draw. Again, you can hover over each one of these tools, hit F1, go to the quick clip video to see how they work. Next is pavement markings. Pavement markings reads from the database that EMX reads. So you go through and you can either type in a search or select a pavement marking pattern. Select OK, it populates, and you can draw it from here. You have striping modes, separation modes, and chevron diverge merge mode. This will be covered in detail in the traffic plans class. Next is place block group. Works similar to pavement marking. It takes the same database. Again, type in search or select a block. Place block group is used to place reflective pavement markers or painted pavement messages. You can have up to 3 and insert those, and they will have the X data already attached. The next item that contains entities that contain pay item data is on the palettes. On the FDOT Civil blocks, to navigate to that, right click on the name and select FDOT Civil blocks. We have different blocks here. These are dynamic blocks that contain different information. For example, on the curb and gutter, if I select it and use the pull down, I have different types of curb, type FE drop curb, type A curb, and type B curb, and each one of these has its own pay item number attached. Also, if you select a different pattern, graphically it will change and update. You can also control it by selecting it, right click and go to properties and change the length or change the curb type. You can grip edit or change the length. This concludes the first module in the FDOT Civil 3D Automated Quantities class, which contains chapters 1 and 2 of the manual.